This is Joe Daughhetee, WITY 980, Danville, Illinois, and I'm here at the Georgetown Fair, and I have a gentleman here that's got much experience with the Georgetown Fair. This is John T. Smith. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you, Joe. This fair has been a big part of my own life and my family's life. And my wife and I came here to teach school in 1962, and at the time the ag teacher was an honorary member of the board, and so I was just looking in the book this morning. I served in that capacity until 68 and then was elected to the board. So that, by my calculation, that would make 48 years and heading for 50.
Well, I know you've been very active in it and have done an excellent job with it over the years. And is this why this is such a strong FFA showmanship, is because of your ag background here, and both you and your predecessor?
Well, yeah, I mean, as our ag department here has been instrumental, but we had a number of just terrific ag teachers in Section 18, and everybody came together and worked on the thing. And the beautiful thing about this fair is total community participation, not only from our own community, but from surrounding people down here in southern Vermilion. Just kind of feel like Georgetown is everybody's fair, and it is wonderful.
That's great, and I know from past experiences personally that Georgetown Fair was considered a good fair in this Section 18 that you mentioned. I was involved in that years ago through my own high school relationships, so it has been a good fair for years, and I realize, but it's individuals such as yourself that make it such a good fair. I know you put a lot of personal work into it each year, and a lot of people take some of these shows for granted that it just happens. They don't just happen, they're planned, and people work hard for them.
That's for sure. A lot of people that just simply have never had the opportunity to work as a board member or some have a notion that, well, they go out there and open the gates and have a fair. Well, it's just I mean, it's a tremendous amount of labor that goes into it, but it's the people that are involved with the fair, it truly is a labor of love.
Yes, and it shows. It reflects in the performance at the show and the overall fair attitude in people, because I've heard a lot of favorable comments about this fair for many, many years, and that doesn't just happen, and it's because of people such as yourself that puts a lot of time and effort into it. Just off the top of your head, do you have any idea how many hours you might devote to fair activities throughout a year? I know it's got to be an excessive amount of time.
Well, no, I really never even thought about it too much. Of course, when I came here, the fair, I came in '62, and they had reorganized from '38, and then they were in a reorganization process, and the fair was not nearly as large. The buildings were not nearly as expansive as they are, and just a lot of people took hold of it, and everybody has their own little niche. Everybody helps everybody when they can, but everyone has their own, this is my part of it, and here's what I want to accomplish. And like this past year has been really gratifying to me. I've had a rough couple of years with health and my wife's illness and everything, and the people on the board have just filled in to a person to make things easier for me, and it's kind of like being out here and having a number of mother hens watching after you, which I truly have appreciated.
Well, I could imagine, and as I say, it takes a lot of additional effort from people like that to help you pull everything together. And now, are there certain aspects that you've been trying to groom some people to step forward with a little more effort and a little more background in some of these areas now?
Yes, we've talked for several years about instituting a honorary board for people that have served on the board and would like to continue their participation, not in as active a role as they played as members, but in a supporting role. And we have never really pushed this off the ground high enough yet to say we've done it, but we're working on it.
Well, I think that's a very desirable thing to be working on, because I know that you've got your active members, but you've got to have people behind them, and you got to have people grooming them to bring them on and get their interest in and involvement in things. And sometimes that's not an easy task. You know, you got to rely upon individuals' incentives and so forth as to just how much do they want to step forward. And that's, I think, is where that you've been very successful, because from what I've seen, you've got some people that have been able to step forward and assist you and so forth. And I'm glad to see that happening.
Well, it's very important. If that weren't true, a lot of things that we've been able to accomplish just simply wouldn't be possible. Everybody, when they, we have a committee in the fall to review possible new members, because we have retirements and one thing and another. And, you investigate people and you find out what their interests are and what their areas of expertise are, and if they agree to be a Fair Board member, we put them on the ballot, and we elect for 3-year terms, and then a lot of people just stay with it. They like it, and they run again, and they're reelected. But we coined a phrase 25 years ago and started referring to our Fair Association as a fair family. And I think that is, in truth, exactly what it is. We watch out for each other and we support each other. And people are not only Fair Board members, but they're friends helping friends.
I think that is true, and you can certainly see it with this fair and the Fair Board and so forth. And as you say, it's even called a fair family. And just talking to people and walking around and observing different things and so forth, you can see that attitude coming across very much. And I think that's one of the big factors why this fair has been so successful, much more successful, I think, than a lot of other fairs that are held. And it comes back to that family concept, everyone willing to help everyone else do something and step forward in a time of need.
Well, I feel very strongly about that. We have just a group that they're very compatible, and it's kind of a esprit de corps. If one person's down, it affects everybody, and everybody tries to help with the situation, and we're able to just function that way. And the other thing, we've been very, very fortunate in people that we've brought on the board have watched from afar, so to speak, and thought about being a Fair Board member, and when they get the chance and get that first time elected, they really dig in and take hold. And it's gratifying to watch that happen.
Well, I think that's good, and I know you've got a good, strong nucleus right here in Georgetown, but I know that there's been some of the smaller surrounding communities that have had people involved that I'm sure have been quite helpful also to make this fair such a success. And I go into some of these other communities and mention it, and the Georgetown Fair is one of the things that they'll mention. Oh yeah, it's a very successful fair, and they're very happy with it and so forth, and it has gone well. And it's a lot of that type of thanks and is to people such as yourself that have helped put this together and keep it tied together and have some continuity on it.
Well, it's just something that we all feel very strongly about, and we will go all out to avoid something that's going to impair our ability to operate. This year has been a hard year in terms of legislation. The lack of a budget meant there was no, when we put our fair book to print back in April, there was no money because there was no budget. And we had to plan for that. We had to cut our premiums, which everybody hated to do. But you know, the thing about it, and I was concerned that it would just decimate our shows and everything. And realistically, we were down some, but we still had a lot of people that are here because in the past they've been here and they've been treated right, and they'll come up and talk to you and thank you for what you've done. And in reality, they're doing for us by bringing their livestock and the home ec stuff out, and it's kind of a continuous circle that just keeps rolling along, thankfully.
And that's where if you got people cooperating and helping each other, you get that type of camaraderie throughout the event and so forth, and it's reflected in the overall show every year from that type of reality of people assisting and stepping forward and so forth. Well, John, do you have any comments you'd like to make as we wrap up here?
Well, tomorrow, Thursday the 10th, is our livestock auction at 2 in the afternoon, and we'll be selling 57 head of goats, sheep, barrels, and steers. And we'd like to invite everybody, business people, individuals, to come to the auction. You know, it would be a good place to buy an animal if you need an animal to put in your freezer, or it'd be great just to, and a lot of people do this, just come and buy an animal to help a young person out. And the way we do it, each animal will have a printed market value that will be announced, which calculates its weight times what the person that's going to receive these animals that are shipped is going to give for the animal. And then if they're interested in bidding just for the advertisement, they start at the announced price and bid, and when it's all over, they pay only what the difference in what the starting price was and where they're at. And then we ship the animal to Rockville Sale Barn, and they pay the fare, and then we can pay the kid.
Well, that's great, because not only does it help the reputation of the fair itself, but it also shows the incentive to these young people. Here's the financial incentive I can get, and it's a real learning experience for them. This is how private industry works, and you put the time and the effort and the work ethic into it, and you get some results there. And this auction coming up, that is certainly one way that they learn this from a desirable standpoint as to how the economy actually functions.
Well, I think that's certainly true, and we have a lot of people that they're just here are private individuals, small town firms, larger businesses that are here every year. And they're here for one reason, to spend a few dollars to help a young person be successful financially in his project.
And also, you got these young people learning from a standpoint, just like tonight. They have the pig scramble, and they have people contributing steers that they will be able to take and use as their project for this next year and so forth. That gives them an opportunity to learn. And here again, you got some outsiders that's actually contributing to people's improvement and wealth and their knowledge of how the economy functions.
That is certainly true, and that's particularly in this day and age, that is very important for these young people to have a concrete lesson on just that.
Well, John, I certainly appreciate you taking the time to talk to me here this evening.
Well, I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you. This is Joe Daughhetee, WITY 980.